Hello, traders. See, it's about 7 minutes after 3 on Tuesday, the 19th of March, 2019, and reminding traders to use risk capital that you can afford to lose. This is a risky business. It's subject to sudden moves that can obviously knock out positions in the blink of an eye. And those of you who over leverage and over trade probably find out the hard way after some experience that this is not a video game. So use risk capital you can afford to lose. We're looking at the a 4-minute chart. Usually use a 5, but I like to take a look at things like a 3 or a 2 or a 4. Just tweak it a bit and see where we are and look to for ideas. It may give me a little bit of an edge. And so far, the obviously news bar, we've been primarily trading inside that ever since. And I don't know whether good fortune or not, but my guess is good fortune that I was at the eye doctor at the time and, was not subject to this type of a emotional swing. We thought that the best buys would be this morning using the 42 idea as support. And anybody trying to buy the 42s to 45 area, see if we couldn't get up and test obviously that target we had at 54.5. And then be very careful about subsequent fills because we thought that perhaps we would get some type of a pullback, although not in this dramatic fashion. But currently, I think that the late longs have been trapped and we're kind of squeezing backwards. The gap has still not been closed yet. The gap is 40.5. My guess is probably 50-50 to close that by the end of the day. And certainly that 38 area we still think is a very big idea, 37.5, 38 area. So let's take a look at one or two more charts to put in perspective. Here's a 2-day chart. We had mentioned to traders to make sure they were paid coming into that 48 to 49 area. Angels and demons idea. If anybody had bought on the rebound in here, we'll show you that in a sec. And right now we're tackling the 2-day middle, obviously. And the gap just below. Here's an interesting look on a monthly chart. You can see we pulled back one level, tempting to get back into the fighting range. For now, we know that the box above this would be the resistance box, which we thought should be paid by 58 today, anywhere 56.5 to 58. And we said use stops in the 58 to 62 region. So theoretically, this will become our fighting box if there's any more follow through to the south side, and obviously our support box way back here at the 2809 area. And don't forget, anytime we have breakouts, you want to keep track of those breakouts and see just how far you've gone, because sometimes those will get retested too. Tomorrow we'll probably have a little bit more in the way of fireworks. And here's that angels and demons chart we were talking about. The 56.25 turns out is our demon for now. Here's our big long news bar. And then 40.75 is our angel. So you can see why we suggested when you get back to the middle zone right in here, this 48.5, you want to pay attention to that. At least that's one of the things we look at. And so this is a bounce, and these traders up here have been stopped out or dragged further south if they were just holding on and hoping to be bailed out. Tough way to trade that way. Here it is. Right there's the gap fill. And obviously we suggested the low of the day is support until broken. And anybody that's short side now, strictly a trailer. 10-minute chart we've been looking at. And we can migrate to a 15 now. But we thought perhaps we could get back here and touch home over here on the rain line. And now we will switch to a 15 since the 10 is tagged. And we will keep the same resistance zone up here above us at that 48 to 52. They opened 50 for RTH. So that's our resistance for now. This is a case of the hunter becoming the hunted. We're in the lowest level. This is typically an area, if you are short, you want to make sure you are paid coming back into that. You can see how that worked first time back here on the plunge. And then to the top of the pipe and failure, came back, retested, came back. And so far, our middle, this 48.5, 49 area, holding the late longs captive on this drive back. And again, not reading any more into this than obviously a reversal of fortune for everybody who was cheering the long side. We tried to stay unemotional. There's no reason you can't take shorts or longs. Just use your stops, and when the trade doesn't work, that's that. I'm sure there are a lot of shorts who would love to see the longs get their head handed to them. There seems to be a lot of dissatisfaction that we've had this kind of a run. And we've said before, we could turn on a dime anytime, so be careful, keep one foot on a banana peel. But you can certainly, as traders are being squeezed, you can certainly take advantage of those situations. Order flow chart, looking to me like it would love to knock out those 39s. And stops down anybody that is short. And you can see how we went from one extreme and now we're headed to another extreme. And now we'll use the base chart, our 5-minute RTH chart. And obviously the rhythm has been lower highs, little descending triangle, flat bottom, and then break, obviously to just knock out and test those stops. But this gap has been filled, thankfully. We've had a lot of gaps. I'd put that chart out earlier. Let's take a quick peek there. These are all gaps, unfilled, 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 unfilled. And that was one of the reasons we said we don't want to buy today up above 52s. We just thought it was time for some kind of a smackdown, but did not expect it to come from that type of a news event. But you understand how you need something like a news event typically to make it move in reverse direction. And on this breakdown, 35.75 is a potential target. First things first, got to get past the 37s. And this is a nice target. So anybody coming into the 37 to 35.75, typically that's where we would expect to make sure you're paid. Here's that 15 that we had talked about. And good place to tighten up and make sure anybody that's buying against this today, you're hoping that a big boy will say, let's take profits by the end of the day. I believe the high is in, perhaps the low, but if not, then obviously the next key support is going to be 32s. And my guess is make sure paid 35s to 37s. Hope this helps you take a look at some of the things we look at. And anytime you get a news event like this, you've got to turn your mind around and see where the bounce stalls and then keep that as your resistance. So for now, that's our key resistance back here in that 48 to 52 region. All right, play well, stay out of trouble.